It's press conference day, and that means we got to hear from Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeye quarterback, Mark Gronowski. What did Gronowski say to make his performance better on Saturday against Iowa State?
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We are your daily source of Iowa Hawkeye information and talk each and every day with you here on the Locked On Network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. My name is Trent Condon. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio here in the state of Iowa. You can hear me currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network each weekday from noon to 2 as I talk the world of sports and lots of Hawkeyes with you in Des Moines, Sioux City, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and Quad Cities. You can catch me there. We're going to talk about the Cy-Hawk matchup, some sad news in the world of Hawkeye athletics with the passing of former basketball coach George Raveling. We're also going to hear from Elliot Clough as he's going to join the show a little bit later on. But we begin with the press conferences and what we heard today over in Iowa City. A lot of news and notes to come out of that, as is typically the case. A couple of top-level items from that, starting with the injury front, as the depth chart came out yesterday, and no surprise, Kamari Moulton is not going to be there. He was not listed on the depth chart, and no surprise after he sustained that shoulder injury in the first quarter of the game on Saturday against Albany. Of course, Reese Vanderzee also not going to be there, as we know him for, looks like a few weeks at minimum. He's going to be out. And then maybe one of the more confounding ones, and I don't believe we touched on it yet, was the injury to Bryce George that he sustained during pregame, and Bryce George is going to be out for a little bit. Not a season ender, but something you just don't see very often. I believe Kirk said after the game, I don't think he's ever seen that in the course of his career, but here we are. So those are the injury updates for you for Saturday. I was going to have to give a different look, certainly in that running back room without Kamari Moulton on there, as they did Saturday. Xavier Williams, he was tremendous, and you look at this Iowa State team, the way that they flow to the football, certainly the ability of that linebacker group in the middle with Dominic Orange, one of the more impactful defenders that I was going to see all season long. You wonder if this is going to be a game where Xavier Williams makes a whole lot of sense. Taking that a step further is Jazzion Patterson. As we go back to 2 years ago, and Patterson had a really good play on a short yardage situation, busted off and nearly got to the end zone in that one. He was really good in that football game. If we could see maybe a little bit more Patterson in this football game, and kind of what that means also for Terrell Washington Jr. as they go through the different running backs. Nathan McNeil, we've talked a lot about him in preseason camp. He was a buzz guy going back to the spring, the true freshman out of Florida. If McNeil just saw a couple of carries against Albany, if he's going to be part of the plans or if it's more likely going to be the three or four mentioned running backs, I certainly think that's going to be the case. We also got to hear from Mark Gronowski, and after a little bit of while to talk to Stu to find out a little bit more about his performance and kind of his thoughts, and it's going to be the question mark. And after a performance where you complete 8 passes for 44 yards. It doesn't matter what level of football you're talking about. It is going to be a big question. And now getting ready and turning the tape. He said a number of interesting things, though, I thought, and a couple of them going through and looking at what he talked about overall is bouncing back in a big time way. But there's a couple of things that came out. One of them is this quote. Sometimes it's having to say, screw it, mindset. We're going to have to throw it, sling it, and that way we're going to have more completions that way and get more balls down the field, unquote. That was Gronowski a little bit earlier, and exactly right. There's the talk out there that he was too amped up, and Kirk mentioned that after the game. He also talked about it a little bit here, is just getting that guy. And there are certain players that are wired that way. Drew Tate was one of those players that was wired that way, and you have to find a way there very quickly to get them out of that, to find a way to get them to calm down, to find a way to get them to play the game. And maybe it's a design quarterback run early in the football game to get that first hit, get those cobwebs out of the way. But hearing from Gronowski, I thought there were some interesting notes. And I got a clip here for you also from Mark Gronowski. This is via Tom Kakert over at HawkeyeReport.com, talking about a little bit what's going on with this team and talking about now taking this passing game a step further. So that's Mark Gronowski. A good question there about what we're seeing and what he needs to do to get that and to remember who he is. Because the guy we saw Saturday is certainly not the guy that anybody could have anticipated. And you can hear that certainly in the way that he's talked about it, the way that his teammates have talked about it, the way that we've heard Kirk Ferentz talk about him. And as Kirk was speaking, I thought a couple of different things definitely popped out about him of going through and looking at this quarterback spot and what it was and the difficult nature that we saw in the passing game. And he talked about bouncing back and being a veteran, the kind of demeanor that you get from Mark Gronowski. I thought it was also interesting that Kirk mentioned he talked to him. Now, he talks to his players. It's not that. It did sound like, at least through my ears, that he was saying that the conversation was to the side. It wasn't part of the team. It wasn't on the practice field, but a different kind of conversation of getting him back in the right mental state and getting the belief of the quarterback that he is and the quarterback that he's shown in the past. Because we didn't see it Saturday. And we know this coming Saturday, he's going to have to be a whole lot better. To think that I was just going to be able to line up, play bully ball like they did for the final 3.5 quarters against Albany and win a football game on the road against an Iowa State team playing maybe as well as they have early in the season in the Matt Campbell era. And I don't think that's hyperbolic. You look at the 10 years of Matt Campbell, one of the calling words, and as me, somebody that covers both Iowa and Iowa State, certainly know it incredibly well. It's been the slow starts to a season that have been a huge bugaboo of that football program. And that's not the case right now. Not only beating a Kansas State team that came into the season at everybody's top 25, a Kansas State team that many people believed was the favorite coming into the year to win the Big 12. Remember, they won that football game, putting a knee on it inside the 1-yard line late in that football game. And also, they left another touchdown on the board on a fumbled snap, a fumbled pitch play on the goal line also. They didn't just win that game, but you could make an argument that they should have won that game easily compared to what the tight score finally was. I was going to have to be ready to go. I was going to have to play better maybe than they have in this game dating back to 2011, the last time they won. You look at those wins and what happened as Iowa has won 6 straight games at Jack Trice Stadium, and I believe Iowa might have to play better because this Iowa State team could be the best of the bunch. It's what we see out of that group. And Mark Gronowski is a huge piece of this, of what we're going to see. Let's continue here the conversation. Go back over to Iowa City. Elliot Clough for 24/7 Sports. He was in Iowa City and part of the press conferences. We'll get his thoughts on what he heard from Mark Gronowski. If he believes that Mark Gronowski, is this a big-time issue? How concerned should we be with the quarterback play? We'll do that as we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from putting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Their Trademaster perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support, make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHCollege5. That'll get you 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real results. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, maybe even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked for you, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. You can even read real customer reviews on their website. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com, RUGIET/LockedOnCollege, and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information.
24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com. Hello, Elliot, Trent, and Ken. Thank you for coming on. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. I guess I saw Gronowski in some photos with some media around him, so I'm guessing he was one of the guys that was available today. Your takeaway from listening to what he had to say? Obviously, he knows he didn't play well. I would hope that he realized he did not have a good game. Did he allude to what he thought was behind it and how he will fix it in advance of Saturday? Any of those things?
He did. He mainly mentioned a few things. First thing that really stuck out is he said, sometimes you just kind of have to have that, and I quote, screw it mentality, where you got to sling the ball around a little bit, play looser. And he said that way they'll have, having fun is more or less what he was getting at. And that way they'll have more completions and be able to get the ball downfield a little bit. He'll be able to pass the ball more effectively. So that was the main thing. Other than that, it was also, he referenced his time at South Dakota State is, they said things like, you want to be at a certain number throughout the day. 1 is absolutely calm. 10 is amped as you can be. And he said, I need to focus more so on being a 1 before the game or a lower number before the game, and then really letting it go when I play instead of stewing it all day. So that, and he sat down and he watched film with Tim Lester and talked a little bit with Coach Ferentz, and they were like, look, you've made these throws a million times, and he knows that too. So mainly I think for him it's entering the game on Saturday with a different mentality and being a little bit I think we can all agree that he would say he needs to be a little bit more calm on the football field. So that's going to be the way that he approaches the Cy-Hawk game on Saturday.
How concerned were you coming out of Saturday? I think there's plenty of angst out there. 44 yards passing. It's very difficult to paint a bright picture of it. I know you rewatched it again, Elliot, after seeing it a second time and going through and looking at what you saw. How concerned are you about the quarterback play?
Honestly, it's a step in that direction. I would not say I've been anywhere near to the panic button at this point in time. You could tell all the way at the tippy top of the press box in Kinnick Stadium that Mark was nervous, that he was jittery, that he had happy feet in the pocket. I could tell that, and I think a lot of people could tell that from the very first snap this last weekend. So I think you have to take that into account, right? I've seen Mark play for several years now, having previously covered UNI, and I mean he carved up the UNI defense. I'm pretty confident he's going to get back to at least playing. Maybe not quite to that level because FCS it's different, but playing at a much better level than he did on Saturday. So if it happens again against Iowa State, then you start working more towards being a little bit more concerned, and then UMass and then Indiana. I'm not going to be at a point where, oh my gosh, the season's over, concern, panic button until he's done it for multiple games. So I think it was a myriad of things. We also saw some encouraging things. That throw to Jacob Gill, that 13-yard gain across his body to the opposite side of the field was encouraging. His mobility is encouraging. And something that David Eichholt and I said on Swarmcast this weekend is just like he's just done it so many times before. This was the 50th game that he's won in his college football career. So I'm not anywhere near the panic button. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe like a 2.5. He's just done too much and accomplished too much and earned the benefit of the doubt to the point where I'm not there yet.
Has he tried to alter his throwing style with the shoulder injury or anything like that? Is that changed from when he had his success at South Dakota? Might that be part of it?
Not that I know of. As far as I know, he's said he's 100%, and that's good to go. That would probably be something that we should look into a little bit more. I haven't thought about that, but he did say he's 100%. As far as I can tell, the throwing motion is as it was 2-3 years ago. So no, I really don't think that's part of it. It's a good question, but I don't think that's part of it.
No Kamari Moulton. He is out for the game, at least according to the depth chart. We'll see if we get a little bit more on that from Kirk coming up here a little bit later on. How does the running back carries divvy up if you had to kind of put it together, maybe percentages for 3 or 4 running backs? How do you think it's going to look on Saturday with no Moulton?
If I had to guess, it'd probably be similar to what we saw against Albany, maybe minus Nathan McNeil, just because of the fact that he is a true freshman and this is such a big game. But if I had to guess, probably, I don't know, 40-40, TJ Washington, Xavier Williams, and then spatter in Jazzy and Patterson in there, maybe Nathan McNeil. I wouldn't completely rule him out, just because what we saw was encouraging last week and what we've continued to hear is encouraging around him. But I mean, with the way Xavier Williams played last week, if that continues, he might be Iowa's lead back going forward. I mean, we heard people say it in the press box. You take everything that you hear from Twitter with a grain of salt. But I mean, I even said this when I saw his film when Iowa offered him, whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago. He kind of looks like Sean Green. Like, I mean, I don't think that's super hyperbolic. Like, the way he navigates space, the fact that he's so difficult to tackle. He's not, elite breakaway speed like Caleb Johnson had, but man, he is really tough to tackle, really good at navigating space, really good at finding the crevice. I've loved his game since I saw him on his huddle out of high school. And I think I shared it with you guys, a little bit of the hype that I was hearing out of camp too. He's good, man. Like I really like him. And then TJ Washington, man, I thought he was one missed tackle away from a score on like several carries from this last weekend. So I think he's working his way to being an every down back type of player too. Obviously losing Kamari Moulton hurts, but this group is, I mean, they call themselves the stable for a reason. They got a bunch of talent back there.
Yeah, I think McNeil's going to be fitted for a red shirt. I really do, the way it goes with Moulton, the way he comes back, the way Williams looked. I would be shocked if he plays any more than 4 games, but obviously injuries will go a long way to deciding that. What about the defensive side of the ball? Who kind of surprised some of the coaches, some of the players afterwards that you spoke to? I thought Merriweather had a really good game. I mean, he didn't play a ton, I don't think, but when I saw him on the field, I saw him making a couple plays. Who stood out defensively for you?
Yeah, that's definitely one that stood out to me. Honestly, it was really hard to have much of a takeaway from this first game. No turnovers, only 2 sacks, I think 1 QB hurry, and that was Kenneth Merriweather. I really don't feel like we learned a whole lot about the defense last week. Obviously, the defense wasn't on the field near as much, also because Iowa was just running the ball so much. So I wouldn't say that I necessarily had a huge takeaway. Anything in particular stood out. I really did like Zach Lutmer. I mean, I think we just have continued to see more of what he is, and that's how he played last year. He's a guy that's really in constant pursuit of the ball, filled a gap on a design QB run, and then pursued the quarterback through the backfield and still made the tackle for a loss. So I guess if there was one thing that really stood out that I thought was positive, that'd be Zach Lutmer's play at Cash. He was good. He's just really consistent and going to do his job and going to do it well. And I'm fully expecting that to continue and to maybe make a few splash plays throughout the season. If there was one play that stood out to me last week, it was that one. I think that was in either the first or the second quarter. But yeah, his ball pursuit is really good.
You mentioned before we came on the air, you talked to a couple of the offensive linemen. They were awarded Pro Football Focus's Offensive Line of the Week.
Were they really?
Yeah. I'll put it together. I believe of their rankings, their top 6 players offensively were offensive linemen. And Iowa football for you right there. What did the big guys up front have to say to you this afternoon?
Largely happy with the way they performed. Talking to Jennings Dunker, he is very matter of fact and said, block the down guy. Like, okay, all right, that makes sense, Jennings. Thanks. But Trevor Lauk was really happy with his initial performance. It sounds like that competition at left tackle is going to continue between he and Jack Dotzler. But Lauk is and was happy with the way he performed. Mentioned a few technical things that they need to work on, but they definitely got some push against that Albany defensive front. So, really happy with the way they performed. Jennings pointed to Cade Pieper as a guy who didn't really have any egregious mistakes either. And to have that in your first start at right guard is impressive, and to get some praise from Jennings, who likes to give Cade a hard time. That was notable to me. I mean, we've heard a little bit about Cade being kind of a freak athlete. The fact that he fell through the cracks and somehow Iowa was able to scoop him up in the recruiting process. But they were all pretty much collectively happy with their performance. Jennings and Trevor, as far as I know Jennings didn't know it, but Jennings had no idea that they were the number one offensive line in college football, according to PFF. So, and that's on brand for those guys too. I don't know that I think Jennings has social media. I don't know the last time he checked it, but yeah, that's classic Jennings dunker right there.
Did any of them have anything to say about? I know Ferentz will, about Iowa State. Did any of the players you spoke to have anything to say about this week's opponent?
Yeah, Zach Lutmer was very. He praised the way Rocco Becht has played. Is very decisive, can put the ball where he wants to. That's the big thing. A lot of the guys were talking about the uniqueness of the 3-3-5, and Mark mentioned that when you're playing against the 3-4, when you're playing against the 4-3, typically you see 6-7 guys drop into coverage, and against the 3-3-5, you're going to see 8. So it's going to make it a little unique in terms of finding the open guys, but facing that 3-down lineman defensive front should give him a little bit more time in the passing game too. But yeah, that, and we were asking a little bit of the out-of-state guys what they know about the rivalry and how intense it is. And of course, again, this is a classic Iowa thing. It's just another game. It's another opponent. We're focused on this one because it's the next one. But yeah, I mean, especially the in-state kids, they know that this one matters. The bragging rights for an entire 365. I mean, from growing up in Northwest Iowa, I can tell you it matters just as much up there as it does in Ames and in Iowa City. So this one's definitely going to matter. Whether they want to put the weight to it or not, it definitely does.
Elliot, you also talked to Drew Stevens, who had that 55-yarder that looked like it'd have been good for maybe 65. He absolutely nailed that one. What's his range, do you think? And sounded like he had a fun conversation on the sidelines with his former specialist mate, Tory Taylor.
Oh, was he there? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tory was there on Saturday. He was on the sideline. I tried to grab a picture of him. I did tweet one. He did not want me to tweet a picture of him. I can tell you that. He was dipping his head and covering up his face, but whatever. Anyway, they were talking about it a little bit, and Drew said, he's pretty confident that he can hit from 60 plus, and that if they give him a chance to do that, he wants every bit of it. And Drew's a confident guy. And you can tell talking to him about, the intricacies of kicking, that he is like that. He lives and breathes kicking football. So he is definitely excited if he gets an opportunity to do that. I mean, that kick on Saturday looked like it probably could have been good from 65, if not further. So that's all the confidence I'm sure he needs. And then, when he hit it, it was a career-long 55 on Saturday. And he trots over to the sideline. Everybody's happy. Everybody's congratulating him. And Tory looks at him and says, well, Kyle Conradi hit a 63-yarder today.
That's awesome.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, two kickers with long range seemingly in their repertoire coming up this week. Steven's been so good. I mean, Iowa's been so spoiled with special teams, right? Both the place kicker and the punter over the last little while. We'll see. What's the key to this game in your mind, Elliot?
Man, that's a good question. It's always, it's got to be the trenches, right? Like, I think Iowa is going to be able to establish a run game this weekend, and that's where it's going to start. But then again, Rocco knows how to win these close games, and he's a big reason why I picked Iowa State to win this in our preseason picks. I don't know how I'm feeling right now. I mean, it's the Cyhawk game, right? It could go either way, but Rocco's special, man. Like, he's in that Brock Purdy era, or at least he's getting close to it in the Iowa State lore of quarterbacks. He's special. Like, his ability to find out how to win close games and to stay poised and stay calm in those situations, make the right play. Taylor Mauser clearly has all the confidence in the world to him. So it's the trenches, obviously, just given the context of the fact that it's the Cyhawk game, but it's also Iowa's pass defense. Like, you just can't have drives like he gave up to Albany partway through. I think it was the first or second quarter of this game this last weekend. You can't have those sloppy drives. You can't allow those big plays, those two explosive plays. against the Iowa defense last year is what got them in Kinnick.
Yep.
So explosive plays, run game, because if Iowa can possess the ball and really, really run it, maybe not like they did this last weekend, but close, they can set up the play action packs. Mark Gronowski can hit those deep balls, assuming he doesn't have that, those jitters like he did this last weekend. So those are the things that definitely stick out to me going into Saturday.
Elliot Clough, 24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com. Elliot, thanks for taking time. I know you got one more press conference to get to. We'll run you down next week if your schedule allows. Thanks for doing this, Elliot. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Yep, good to talk to you, Elliot Clough, as we check in on the Hawk.
Big thank you to Elliot Clough, as always, for all of his time checking in from Iowa City with with Iowa Football Media Day. We continue here, Locked On Hawkeyes, and some sad news from the world of the Hawkeyes. George Raveling passes. We'll talk a little bit about his life and legacy and back in the day with him. We'll do that as we continue. But before that, an opportunity right now to help us out with Locked On. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can find the link in the show notes, and thanks for helping us out. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for a kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel because there's so many different ways that you can play. Building a same-game parlay, trying to take a little and build it into a whole lot. Or you see the way the game's going, you think you got it figured out, you can jump in with live action. Plus, it's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your NFL Sundays. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. College football is back. We couldn't be more excited for it. The tailgates, the rivalries, including this week with Cyhawk, the energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like a battle more than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. It is so simple to use. I love knowing exactly what I'm going to pay. You've been there before. I've been there before. You're in that checkout. You think you got a great deal on tickets, and then the fees are added in, and suddenly that ticket price looks a whole lot different. Not the case with Game Time. Plus, know exactly what you're looking at inside the stadium. Maybe you've never been to Jack Trice before, and you want to make your way over to Ames this weekend. You can see exactly where you're going to be inside the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Mentioned today the passing of George Raveling, an Iowa basketball coach for 3 seasons before he departed for USC. He talked a little bit at the time, difficult in a community, a predominantly white community, being a single African-American man, to find company, and made the trip out to LA. And with it, a disappointing tenure overall. Now, he did make the NCAA tournament 2 out of 3 years, but lost in the first round of both of those seasons. His final year, 85-86 season, I have very vague recollections of George Raveling. I was just a little kid at the time, just in kindergarten at the time. And really my only memory, and I mentioned this in the past at Everydayers, I know you've probably heard this story before, it's just my grandpa didn't like that he wore a jumpsuit on the sideline sometimes. He didn't like that part of it. But that aside, he was also, of course, the guy that brought in Roy Marble and BJ Armstrong from Michigan, along with Ed Horton, and that three-member class, recruiting class, really set the foundation for what Dr. Todd was able to do in his first couple of seasons at the helm. But memories of that final season, losing in the NCAA tournament to NC State. They had Chris Washburn, who was one of the most incredible players and talent. Cocaine addiction, unfortunately, derailed his career, if memory serves. Nate McMillan was on that team. Vinny Del Negro was on that team, though he didn't play very much of that season. They lost by 2 in that one. And the reason that it was crazy is because if Iowa would have won that one, Iowa was the 11 seed that year, and NC State was a 6. It was a path for Iowa and Iowa State to actually play in the Sweet 16 that season. Iowa State advanced. They pulled an upset in the second round to move to the Sweet 16. It was in Minneapolis. There were a ton of Hawkeye fans that were up there for the contest against NC State and fell by 2 in that one. But just to think, what a Sweet 16, by the way, that was played in the Midwest region, that would have been played in Kansas City. What that would have been like with Iowa and Iowa State battling for a chance to get to an Elite 8. Oh, what could have been, but unfortunately not the case there. But a guy that was known for so many things, not a basketball coach, but his connections in Nike, the signing of Michael Jordan, being at the I Have a Dream MLK speech, and then getting the actual notes, the actual writing of the speech afterwards as it was handed to him. Just an absolutely incredible life that he led and what he did, and being a great person in so many different ways. Listening to him talk, listening to him speak, just an incredible guy with an incredible life. And Hawkeye fans, I know everywhere, certainly going to have some great memories of George Raveling, and nothing but the best to his family for a great life that he led. Well, that'll do it for today. We got more coming up as we continue to build up here for Cy-Hawk. Try to get back into the positive vibes, get those positive feelings going once again after the disappointment of the passing game on Saturday. There were some bright spots. What's it going to take to get the upset? We're going to talk about that. Yeah, this will be an upset as Iowa is currently a 3-point underdog in this game at Jack Trice Stadium. We will continue to talk about it, break it down every single day, your team every day, and thank you to your everydayers for being with us every day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.